Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SB Reviews where today we have ourselves a track from an act named Roseblossom7s titled How Could You? Brokenly Crucial. And if we switch over to here we have ourselves a track on the screen on YouTube and we are going to listen through it from start to finish. We're going to hear what we think. It should be noted that I've listened to Roseblossom7s work before and I've typically had a good time with it, so I'm hoping we'll have more of that today, but let's go. Some quite aggressive kicks and basses there, but that's cool.
You captured my heart, love fell apart, came to an end before we got started. Broken promises and had to focus on me. I needed to heal, I got your remedy. For me to come back to you, that would be just a false dream. These words in this song I sing, bring out the melody. How could you do that to me?
I mean, it's ferocious, isn't it?
How could you live your life and go on like you didn't do wrong? I cut you off like a cutthroat. I had to cut you out my life like a cancer. You hurt me. It was like holding a pair of scissors to my bleeding heart. You acted way too melodramatic. Chemistry comes way before passion. We were never compatible. You and I are like oil and water. We don't even match. Our love kept us together. You grew detached. There was nothing that could hold us back. You and I, we didn't have attraction. There was no compassion. 1 + 1 = 2. Add that shit up and you do the math. You take away me minus the action. No you in the equation. That's negative subtraction.
Are there some synths in the background?
I go my way, I say deuces to you. Kick rocks cause this shit is a rap. How could you do that?
I mean, it sounds like we're in a lot of pain at the moment. So that was Roseblossom7s and Brokenly Crucial, or How Could You? Brokenly Crucial. We're gonna talk about this track more in the conclusion, because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Roseblossom7s titled Brokenly Crucial. What do we think this track's about? It sounds like someone who has gone through a devastating sort of breakup. The person was not good to them, and I think this song is there trying to sort of work that situation out. We have storytelling elements there. You go into how they talk about how like 1 + 1 = 2 and how they're trying to sort of cut them out like a cancer or something like that. You know, it's horrific stuff. But then, you know, you get to a point where there's these vocals where it sounds like we're crying out and there's harmonized parts of that. And it's brutal. And I listen to this and I think, okay, does this seem authentic? It does. Is this easy to listen to? Not always. It's difficult to listen to them when they're in this much pain. But I feel like that's music as a form of expression. And I think that it's kind of brave that we're able to open ourselves up and be able to sort of show ourselves to people like that, especially when we've gone through a situation like that. And I hope they're doing better now, you know. Seems like it was better for both parties not to continue things from what I heard in the song, but the vocals, I liked parts of it. I liked the melodies that we were singing in the verse and some of the chorus parts. I can't tell if it was through composed or not. There was a similar motif along a lot of it. The main constant was the kick in those basses and just how ferocious they were. There was some really serious bass boosting going on there. They were very, very loud drum beats. And there were some keys or some synths or some reverse takes in the background, but I couldn't really hear them that clearly. And I feel like maybe that was the intent for the vocals and the drums to be equally sort of like intense in the mix so that you could just get that aggression there, that frustration, those raw feelings, you know, communicated through the music. I don't really think that we could have really... I think that if we had tried to polish the vocals or tried to make them so that we were sort of staying more in time with like the key sig of the track and stuff like that and avoided chromatics, I don't think it would have necessarily improved it. And I think that for the effect we were trying to have with the vocals, it makes sense that we were singing the way we were. I think that the track itself at 3 minutes 30 is relatively well fleshed out. You do get the whole story. We get more as we go along there. It's segmented into more sort of storytelling, sort of monologue elements there. And then, you know, segmented between those and then sort of the ones we sort of cry out and we're doing some sort of vocal runs and stuff like that. Again, the constant, like the bass at the start was it's just rowdy, man. It just wants to throw down. And the bass alongside it, especially later on in the mix when there's more elements included, there's some incredible, utterly incredible digital distortion going on there in the mastering chain. It's just boosted to high hell. If that is a deliberate decision there, it's just absolutely ruthless and it's a visceral sounding mix. It's definitely not the cleanest mix I've heard, but I think that was done on purpose, again, sort of further emphasize the way that we were trying to sort of like make it heavy. And I think the music, whether or not it was intentional, the music sounded incredibly heavy in part because of that bass boosting and sort of digital distortion and stuff like that coming through from those drum bass parts there. And the relatively quieter synth and sort of key parts there. We had some melodies in the background, but they're a lot more subtle than the drums that we had. I think that we again, with the vocals being the focal point, we didn't really need any other layers there. We just had changes in grooves as we went along. And that was cool. And I appreciate the fact that we didn't just have the same drum kit the entire time with the same beat. We switched them up on occasion, sort of developed things a bit. So we clearly understood we needed to make the most of that 3 minutes and segment things appropriately. And I think we did. The theme was one where we were just kind of just sort of struggling with things. It sounded like a dire mix where we were sort of dealing with our raw emotions again after the breakup, after having to leave that person, after having to cut them out of our life. And we sounded like we were struggling with it. And I think the theme of the song, with some of its more subtle minor leanings there, and amongst the absolutely kind of like nuclear, like kick sort of drum parts, I really did kind of communicate that things were rough for us right now, but we weren't totally annihilated by it. We were simply just trying to sort of figure it out. And I think some of the extensions we had in those harmonies and the sub layers kind of made it seem like there's a bit more than meets the eye, that we're kind of figuring stuff out still, even after the fact. But the studio recording, mixing and mastering, there's not really dynamic range in this. The track is a similar loudness from start to finish. It's brutal, but again, I think that's by design. The leveling of stuff, when I take in mind the drums and vocals are clearly meant to be the focal point, is fine with the keys and synths and stuff as a sub layer. I think stuff surrounds you in the headphones for the most part. There seemed like there was an uneven high-end response like at the beginning, but then that's just simply because we had more of a sort of a high-range focus in the synths or whatever was going on the right side than the left. We had hi-hats coming in on the left later on, and stuff did move around the stereo field. We went like that to that and stuff like that, so that was fine. You know, that was okay, I'm down with that. I think that there's a lot to, I think that if you're looking for a musician who really does put their heart into their music, this is definitely one of them. And I appreciate that, you know. It's not nearly as believable if you're not authentic about it. It was loud and it pumped and there was digital distortion, but again, I think that was by design. The vocal takes, I don't think they were overproduced there. I think it was a bit sort of rawer than other takes. I said a bit more organic than other takes we've had in the past with Roseblossom7s stuff, and I think that's kind of nice. And yeah, it was an interesting listen. But thank you very much for watching my review of this track from Enact Team Roseblossom7s titled How Could You Brokenly Crucial, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show them some love via their various social medias and their YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.